Hello guys, today we will be taking a look at my war wall and everything on it. And with that, let's get started, shall we? The real question is, what is my war wall? If you don't know, it's exactly what you are sitting on. It is my war wall. The war wall is pretty much blasters I take to my big wars down in Borsts, or my go-tos for just fun battles. Everything on the wall is either my best that I can use for a battle, or fun to use for a battle, or just rare stuff I don't use for battles, but I keep it on the wall because it's the best place to keep it. Just to let you know, for this video, we will not be taking a look at my armor. That will be a different video that will eventually show up eventually. And with that, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at my rare and random stuff I have on the wall that I don't take to battles or really use at battles, but they're just interesting. So let's get on to that, shall we? So now we're going to take a look at my rarest blasters I own. One of them is the 1995 crossbow. I have this on the wall just because I was going to use this for battle, but it just wasn't reliable and it did not work well. I need to reinforce it a lot more, or build or buy actual parts for it. This one is modified. It takes my little coupler thing at the front, so it takes anything I feel like putting on it, and that's how the coupler system works. Its plunger tube that you can see right in there is a Caliburn plunger tube with a Caliburn head, and it has I think it has just its original spring and a slight upgrade around that. It hits around like 130s, but the catch is not always reliable, and it's just not a great blaster to use. So yeah, I actually do have a blaster rarer than this, which is the rarest blaster. Well, the next rarest blaster I have is this guy right here, which is from one of my favorite lines. And this came out very nice how I did it, because it does have my coupler system in it, but you can't tell at all. You can just throw something right in the front, and it looks completely stock. This is from the Supermax line back in the 90s. It's air pressure, so you pump on the back, and trigger pull is a bit heavy because of that, but I have plugged its tank, so it hits around, I think it's around like 240-ish. And this is the Supermax 1500. Wait, no, this is the Supermax 750. Sorry, 750. There's just nothing that says on the blaster at all. But this is the rare version of the 750. I did have a normal 750, but I broke that one. This one is my rare version because it looks completely different. And this one's just very nice. I really like the shell of this one. Now, my rarest blaster I own, which is a weird one, is this guy. This is a Boomco blaster. This is the Boomco Thunder Cover. That's it. Its name is the Thunder Cover. Completely stock, so it still has all its locks and stuff. This is the rarest blaster I own. I don't know why, it's just insanely rare. And these go for a lot of money, but I ended up picking up 2 of them for cheap. This one's my stock one, so it stays on the wall. Just because how big its plunger tube was and how small the blaster was, I thought I could get a lot of power out of one of them. So I modified my blue one, and it doesn't work. You really can't upgrade it at all. And this is just stock. This is a stock Boomco blaster. And with that, let's get on to some other weird stuff. I look at is stuff that I would like to use. I just haven't really used it yet, to be honest. And we have this guy right here, which I wanted to keep stock for stock battles, but this thing its spring was completely used up, it shot so bad. I had to modify it, and I put my ripsaw on the front of it. You prime the ripsaw from this little like cave in here that you prime the wire back, and this thing is a nice thing to hold. This blaster is one of my favorite priming blasters. This is the Busby Snipe, I believe his name is. Maybe. It's made in China, 2014. That's what I know. So it hits about, I think it hits around like 80s to 90s. And this guy in front shoots both its rounds at once. The ripsaw is a chainsaw now. And it hits about, I think, 80s as well with both rounds. This is one of my best shotgun blasters up here. And I just kind of glued that thing in. Wasn't ever planning on painting it. Just wanted something fun to use. Actually, I'm planning on the next Fort Borst War to take this thing and see what will happen, because this is a fun guy and it will be fun. This is just a blaster I made, haven't used, and it just sits on the wall because it's interesting. I like it. I want to use it at war. And with that, let's look at this guy. You probably know what this guy is. This is the Dart Zone Max line or whatever. It's from the Dart Zone Pro blasters. It's the Magnum, 6 rounds. The prime is very, very interesting. It's very long. I'm not a fan of the prime. The blaster, I love. It's a Magnum. It's completely stock. I haven't done anything to it. And it hits about, I think it was like in the 130s or so. And it sits on my wall. Will I ever actually use this at a war? Possibility. I'm not sure, really. It sits on my wall because it's very good. I'll probably use it eventually, but for the time being, I have no need for this blaster. But I do really like it. I like Magnums. That's why I picked this guy up, and why it's on the war wall. Next guy we have is this guy. Nerf's first pistol, but the remake that fires Mega. This is actually the only Mega firing blaster on my wall, because if I want to fire Mega, I'm using this guy, because this guy is pretty powerful for what it is, and I really like the form factor of it. It's fun. It's just a fun blaster. The next Borst War, I will take this thing there. I've never used this thing in a battle. I want to use it in a battle. And it's Mega, so it has actual useful things. But it's nothing I will ever keep on my main gear, just because it's weirdly shaped, and I don't want to holster it. Next up, we have my little, these guys, the Menaces. I'm just going to show you one of these. It's a Menace. You know what it is. It's stock. Hits about 80s. I have 12 of these on the wall just because I collect them and I'm addicted. So, yes, that's why I have these. But I do have a few special ones on the wall, which I have this guy, which I tried to make my most powerful Menace, but it just did not work because I removed the air restrictor, and you just shouldn't do that for the Menaces because they're more powerful with the air restrictor than without. So, there's this guy. He looks impressive, but he still hits like 85 at best. But this guy can fire Mega XL. Just a few feet, but I can't fire it. And I removed its little, dart holders. And it has a spring upgrade. The next one is another one that has a little tiny barrel sticking out of it because it's brassed. The other one's also brassed. And that's about all I did to this one. There is a spring upgrade. And yeah, that's about it for that. Then we get on to my actual war blasters. This was my very first modified Menace. It's been chopped up to get rid of that to make it more sleek. And the brass barrel is very long, and it fits a full dart. Spring upgrade. And this is one of my special ones because this guy has a name. It's called Mini Tail. If you can see that. Mini Tail. It is my first one out of 3. And this guy hits around with a half dart. It hits around, I think, 115, which is plenty for what I want. Then we have the second one, the Mini Tail 2, which I use at wars now. The reason why this one's slightly better, because I made its barrel the exact length of a nerf dart, so it goes in and it's all ready to go. This one, you have to push it in just slightly, which I do not like. And this guy, spring upgrade, like always. And yeah, those are my mini tails. I do have a third one, which has a longer barrel than these two, but that's in my backpack. I keep that just on me at school. And then we have this guy. This guy is insane. This guy's been through a lot. This is Dead Stop. This is my full-length K26 K26 rainbow pistol. That's it. It has big draw, a lot of power. My coupler system, so it takes any coupler you want to put on it. And this guy with a half dart can hit up to 280. And I use this guy to fire Mega XLs at 90. I took off that original attachment that I put on it to make it shoot Mega XL. And since then, it's just been very interesting. I haven't really used it. It's just very powerful. And I used it for Mega XL. I shot Captain Xavier straight in the stomach by accident. Because he was already out. And I just haven't used it since because it's just a very dangerous blaster. And if you can tell, it looks not like a Nerf gun. So yeah. Those are all my blasters that are very weird on my wall. Now we'll get to we'll start with my first areas, my mains. My main blaster I use at actual wars. So, let's get on. This main we will be talking about is this guy. You guys have seen him. He is ASE. He is my most expensive blaster. And he hits around, what does he hit around right now? I think he hits around like the high 150s. So, ASE is injection molded with full metal internals with a 3D printed stock and 3D printed pump grip with a scar barrel in it. The reason why I would take this guy out on the field is if I want to win. This guy is insanely accurate, insanely useful, very just light, easy prime for how hard this thing hits. And yeah, that's pretty much this guy. I take this guy out when I really want to compete, which I normally don't. So this guy has only taken the field like 3 times. It's been taken on the field twice at Fort Forest, and 4 times, and twice at my battles. And it's just very nice. I like ASE. Now let's move on to a different one. We'll take a look at this guy, which has been through a lot. This is Junk Chucker. Why is it named Junk Chucker? Well, it was originally built to just shoot anything, pretty much. I had a barrel on it that could shoot, I think, this thing could shoot 15 different types of rounds with that barrel. But I decided to change it to be my main musket, my sniper rifle. This is one of my mains I will use at battles because it's one shot. You may ask why. I like one-shot blasters. I think it's fun. This guy can really snipe. This guy hits about, I think, high 140s and has my quick switch barrels and my coupler system like always. So I just snipe people with this guy. This guy has taken the field, I think twice, and not for long. The reason being is I just haven't brought this thing and used it enough. I've been using other stuff. Mostly my Mega XL stuff that is too big for my wall. So that's my main that I want to become the one I use the most, pretty much. Talking about using the most, this is my Supermax 5000 back in the 90s, like the last one. It is not a Super Soaker, it is Nerf. And this guy is air pressure, 3 pumps, the tank is full. Pull the trigger, fires. It has a hopper that holds 6 rounds. You get 6 shots. 6 shots about at 140. And this guy has been on the field so much. This guy's been to almost every war, actually. This guy's been with me since the start, I believe. So I think this guy's been to 16 different battles. And I haven't always used it. I haven't always brought it. It has had very bad jams in the past, but I've fixed most of them. And this is just a really nice blaster. Its air tank is not plugged because I don't want that much power out of it. And like I said, 3 pumps, it's full, fire. I don't really need much more. And this is my favorite trigger. I love this trigger. It's just awesome. Now on to my last blaster for this category, which is my heaviest, and it is Bolt. Bolt is a very interesting rainbow rifle that I made out of a rainbow pistol. It has the stock that holds extra rounds. I forget what it is. People will probably try and kill me if they knew I cut this stock up, because it's a nice stock. But I wanted it on this guy. This guy is a little long, but perfectly fine. Has the same hopper system up top, all PVC, all wood, all metal, and it holds 9 rounds, hitting exactly 150s. And this guy has just not taken the field much at all. It's been to probably 3-4 battles so far. It has a scar barrel up front that I kind of just jammed on there, and it will never come off again, I promise you that. This guy is just very fun. It's been through a couple paint jobs. This one's been through 3 different paint jobs. Bolt is the one that's been staying with for the longest. And this guy's just a very nice rifle that I just don't use enough. The reason not is because my crate is not long enough for this blaster. So that's why I don't normally bring it. I should bring this more. I will bring it more because this is still a very competitive blaster. If I don't want to be insanely competitive with ASE, I would use Bolt instead. Now with that, what we'll be looking next, we will be looking at my mains that I either use for stock battles or for zombie battles, whatever the zombie thing's called. All right. Now we'll be taking a look at what are my go-to blasters for stock battles. My main go-to blasters is these guys. These guys are those... This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pistols. They're completely stock. They're not hammer shots. I like these way more. These are just remakes of the Rebel ones. Their handles are just very nice. And all my hammer shots are modified, and I still think these stock ones are just better. They're more useful. I get 2 of them. I get 10 shots. I just have to carry some more rounds, and I'll have a ton of fun with these guys. These guys are awesome. I like them, and I think the stock prime on these is just amazing. Doesn't really get it doesn't really go wrong with dual pistols, does it? Yes, they're pistols, but I don't care. They're still a main for me. Next up are still stock blasters, but they are my go-to zombie blasters for a zombie round. You know what? I should probably use these at a zombie round, to be honest. Oh, and these guys hit around probably like 60 FPS, 70 maybe. And they have been to just one stock war. I don't go to many stock wars. I want to use them more. Now with the zombie stuff, my go-to is this guy was my go-to for a very long time. This is the Revonix 360. Holds 35 rounds, easy to top off, and this thing is the closest thing you can get to a flywheeler without being a flywheeler, because it is pump action. I don't want to pump it because there's locks in it that won't let it shoot because it's still stock. And I can rail these off insanely quickly. 35 rounds, easy top off is amazing. And at zombie battles, this is just awesome. The only times I've been tagged out in zombie battles is when I'm caught off guard but from behind. If they're in front of me, they have never once touched me with this blaster. And I've also used this for protecting certain checkpoints battles when I'm pretty much just a guard, and this is my go-to that I'll usually have if people get too close to protect it. And this is insane. I love this. This is my only Vortex blaster on this wall. And yes, I still do use Vortex at wars with this guy. But recently, it has been slightly dethroned by the other blaster that I use for zombie battles, which is a shame, but it's just what happens. And that is this guy from the Insanity line. Fast, but not as fast as this guy. The difference is this guy has... It's always hard getting in there first. This guy has 70 rounds. 70 rounds will last an entire zombie battle. This is my other go-to for a stock battle, which I have not used. I have not used this guy. I've used this guy at one battle, and that was just for fun. That was a speed round I used this guy for. And this guy is just insane. 70 rounds is plenty. This will last an entire zombie game. It's just insane. It's insanity. What else do you need? It's pump action, hits around 70s, and what else do you really need? And yeah, this guy's just awesome. I don't really have much else to say. The one downside to it is very, very not well plastic. It's decent plastic, but you can hear the creaks and stuff. And I'm pretty sure one day this cylinder is going to crack in a place or two. Like, it makes sounds. That's why I still have this guy. This guy's still useful. So there will still be times where I prefer this guy over this guy. But with that, let's get on to my last main blasters, which are my fun blasters. Which they are not useful for any sort of battle, but they are fun, and that's why I want to use them. Two fun blasters that are not competitive at all. They're just for fun, and they use Nerf's first ammo, the ballistic balls. First we're going to look at is my Ripsaw, which the Ripsaw is my favorite blaster to take a field with. It's insanely fun. It is a motor-powered Ripsaw that holds 8 balls. What else do you need? The Ripsaw has gone through some stuff. At my last war, it did fail. Catastrophic failure where the motor no longer was connecting to the flywheel, and it fried itself. And I had to do a lot of work on it, and now it's not as good, but it's still an insanely good blaster. Right now, I just don't really have batteries to power it yet. I kind of used a lot of mine, and, well, they just got old. The batteries got old and puffy, and I had to get rid of them. But this guy is just insanely fun, and its range, this thing hits... This one is my most like constant blaster, my best average blaster, because this thing hits 38 FPS and it hits between 36 to 38 FPS. That's what this thing hits. The balls will go about 30 feet, but you do not want to do that because they just float for a long time to get there. Its engagement range is about, I would say, 10 feet. So I just run, I get in there, I shoot, I get shot, I pick up my balls, I go back and respawn. And that's just insanely fun to me. This one's just a lot of fun. And there was one time where this thing was actually useful. I was running and I was able to shoot 3 people out, and that was just insanely fun to do. I ran up, got 3 people, and that ended up letting us get the objective and win. This guy's been to a lot of wars. I think this guy has probably been to around 9 battles, 9 or 10 battles. And yeah, it's just insanely fun. Now the other guy is the Balling Bow. Yeah, that's its name, the Balling Bow. This thing has the weird like ball thing you put on it. I kind of just glued it into the blaster. So you throw a ball in, it holds 3, and you just pull back and release. The ball fires. This thing's even worse. I've never chronographed this thing because this thing only has like 10 feet of range. My engagement range for this thing is less than 5 feet. I'm almost point blank when I use this thing. I sprint, I get up to people, and I release it. And it does have its issues. Sometimes the ball does not fire, which is a shame. But this guy is just fun. And this is the Blazing Bow. My name's Blaze. Why would I not somehow make this into a main? I never think a bow could be a good main, but this is a fun main. So that's what this guy is for. And I have brought this thing to a single war, and I had fun with it. So not much else to it. Now let's get on to my secondaries, shall we? For my secondaries, we'll start with this guy right here. Now this guy looks like an actual firearm and feels like a real firearm. The only difference is it's mostly plastic with some metal. This is from Wrecked. This is the only good blaster they have from Wrecked. It's an insane Magnum, and it is my favorite Magnum because all you have to do to fire it is pull the trigger for double action or cock it back for second action. For single action. You can cock it back for a single action or pull it full for double or whatever. This guy is insane. Every time I took the field with this, no one has touched me. If I still have rounds in this blaster, no one has touched me. I've survived zombie battles. I've survived so much. The one issue I have with this, which makes it not my go-to main, go-to secondary, is it's CO2 powered. And CO2 is not allowed at a lot of my battles, which is a shame. That's the reason why this guy's only taken the field, I think, 4 times. And they weren't at Fort Boris or anything like that because they don't allow CO2 for some reason. Maybe that will change one day. But until then, this cannot be my go-to secondary. But it is a secondary whenever I can use it. I've also used it as a main a lot, to be honest. Because this thing, my holsters, it's known to just slip out because it's very, very back heavy. So, it's very back heavy, you can tell. Because that's where the CO2 goes. And the cylinder can come out. Now with that, we'll move on to my actual secondary, which is 4 pistols, by the way. My secondary, I carry 4 pistols with me, which are these guys. These are known as the 4 Horsemen. If you don't know, it's a reference to the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Because this guy right here is red with pink stripes. You really can't tell well on this guy. They are the smallest Magnum that any company has made into a toy. This is from Adventure Force. 4 shots, revolver, pull the trigger, cylinder moves. It's a very nice small blaster. Prime it back, half pull, moves the barrel to full seal, and then full pull, it fires. All these hit around the 120 mark with full lengths, which is insane. They're not always accurate, but that's why I have 4 of them. They're just insanely good to use. Like I said, this one's the Rider of War. This one's Hungered Rider. This is pink with gray stripes on it. Same thing, 120 FPS. Cylinders move. Very nice blaster to use. This one has the biggest T-pull on it, just because they're not all going to be perfect. Then we have this guy, which is a very interesting texture. It is originally blue, so the blue is, you can see, and it has, this has concrete, this has like flag or some kind of thicker paint stuff on it. So this guy is called Ill Pale Rider. This guy is my strongest one of them all, hitting around the slightly above 120s, like the 125 mark. And same thing. And this is also my favorite pull of them all. Then we have this guy, which is Rider Conquest, which is white with pink stripes. Same thing. This guy has the best movement of any of them with the front thing, which is not always useful, but it comes at a downside. This one's the weakest one of the 4, hitting 115s. Don't ask me why. They all have K26 in them. They're all insanely powerful. If you ever want to know why I have 4 secondaries, well, one day, like I said, I'll show my armor off and you'll see. Well, that's pretty much all my secondaries. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to see all my pretty much remaining stuff, my thirdaries, you could say. My final things on the on the war wall. Let's the final couple things, which we have 5 items left. We'll start with this guy, which if you don't know about this guy's a Boomco blaster that's been modified for normal elites. This guy was my thirdary, my go-to before the Menace came out. The Dart Zone Menace replaced it. Before then, this guy been to almost every single war. I think this guy I think holds the record. I think this guy's been to 20 wars, been to almost every single war. And before I had this guy, because this is Ace Mark II. Before this guy, I had Ace Mark I, which only went to my very first war, and then I made this guy to replace him. Just to let you know, this is a line I've made. I have made 5 aces, and still nothing has came close to Ace Mark II. Don't tell me why. I just don't know. This guy with full lengths hits 100. That's all it needs. Has my coupler system, but this barrel belongs to Ace. So it's just a brass barrel with some, golf grip on it. Golf club grip on it. And it has my little coupler system in there. But it's really not too powerful because it can't fire much else than its darts I put in there. It has another more golf grip on its handle. Its prime is very light, very nice. It's a K26 in there. And this guy has just been amazing. It will probably stay on this wall until the very end of the war wall, because it's just been there when I've needed it the most. Yes, it's been replaced, but that will not take away from what it has done for me. It's been through everything with me, and it's been through a lot, and whenever I needed something, this was always right here on my gear. I could whip it out, and one shot, that's all I needed. Now, on to the next weapon we got, which is my newest one on the wall, which is this weird looking thing. This is Junk Heap. This is a air tank. I cannot tell you where it came from, because the air tank's been around. Well, so why I can't tell you where this air tank came from, it's because I ripped apart that blaster a very long time ago, and I was going to use its air tank. Couldn't figure out how to connect its little release valve, so it kind of just sat in my big junk crate until I finally found a use for it. Before then, I had no clue. Just on a whim, I ended up making this thing, which is pretty much just the air tank, its pump cut in half, and a long shot front gun handle. And it was able to wire up very nicely, and I'm very surprised. It leaks just a little bit when you're first pumping, but when you get pressure in it, it doesn't leak. And I found out this thing fires Mega XLs insanely well. So I put my Mega XL barrel on it. It has my coupler system as always. And this thing fires Mega XLs about 110 if you've seen the short on my channel. So I decided to put this thing on my gear. So behind my 4 horsemen is Junk Heap, which will be my go-to shield buster. If you don't know, a shield buster is bigger rounds, like Mega XL Mega will pierce the shield and count as a tag. Bigger rounds like rockets, ballistic balls, and stuff like that go through the shield. And it counts as an out, and the shield will not be able to be used for the rest of the game. So this guy is just insanely useful, but it's just going to have 1 Mega XL in it. And yeah, this guy is another blaster, like Junk Chucker. That was something I built just for fun, and it ended up being one of my mains. This guy just ended up being a third dairy, which is perfectly fine with me. Now, my last actual blaster is this guy right here. This guy is my Gauntlet. I usually only use this thing for zombie battles. This thing's been to a lot of wars, but it's usually just sat in my crate because I've not used it. How it works is as 2 blasters that fire 3 rounds each at once. Now, you may ask, oh, how do you fire it? You just use the triggers. I didn't really care enough. It works. You point it, you grab the triggers, and it fires. I don't need to wire up stuff to my hands that would get in the way. I don't like that. But yeah, why I made this is because I had this guy at a zombie battle with its actual full blaster with just the shotguns, with just a 3-shot burst. That blaster ended up saving me because I whipped it out, fired it, and it was like, that was insanely useful. Why don't I just put it in a better spot to mount it? So that's where the Gauntlet came from. It's just a welder's glove, well, not a welder's, but a worker's glove with a shin guard on it, with 2 blasters mounted, the Mega and the Rebel. All, they just fire both 3 rounds at once. Fire them not insanely well. They're about stock, so they hit about probably 60s. And yeah, for a zombie battle, if I need it, just point it, pull the trigger, fire. This guy's been to probably 12 battles. Not always been used. It's probably been used in 8 battles. But yeah, with that, we're on to my final 2 items, which are very interesting. They are my melee weapons. First, let's talk about this. This is a frying pan. It's very hard rubber. I can't hit anyone with this. You may ask, why do you have this then? It's a shield. It's literally just a shield I can block darts with. That's the only reason I want this. I have used this in only a single battle. I've never brought it to a big war. I think I will bring it to a big war pretty soon, just to use the shield, because it's pretty hard. If you hit someone really hard with this thing, it's gonna hurt. It's just kind of hard, thick rubber, but it's fun. It's a frying pan. Picked this up at GameStop when it was there. I saw it and I was like, I had to have that frying pan. This is from PUBG, by the way. It says PUBG in the middle. Don't think you can see it though. But yeah, it's just a kind of a shield. The next one is something I've wanted for a very long time, spent way too much money on it, and that is the Nerf Zombie Strike Bat. You see, when I went to Toys R Us, RIP Toys R Us, I always looked for this bat. It was never there. It was always the wrench, the knife, even the weird like 2x4 thing. I wanted the bat, so I ended up paying $40 for this thing online. It has stuff rattling in it because it's old. The top is kind of fraying, and yeah, I just wanted this. I want to hit people with a bat. That's the only reason I got it. It's very, very soft. I can hit anyone. I can hit anyone hard with this if I want to. Haven't ever done that. I have always used it like kind of like a knife. I ran up to people and just kind of slid it across them. I haven't always hit them with it most of the time. The bat is just something I really enjoy. I have a mount for it. Usually it was like about here, but it was always hard to grab it and put it back into place. Now it's on my belt, and it's just awesome. I love this thing. This is my last resort. If I run out of bullets, darts, balls, whatever, I always go to this. Most of the time in the past, it was this guy and Ace that I would use. It would be like this. Nowadays, it's usually just the bat. I like running around with the bat swinging. I have hit darts away sometimes. I've gotten my best tag with this bat too, because at that battle, I threw one of my foam baseballs in the air, but it's kind of slow how it like goes through the air, and I kind of angled it, and then I threw my bat, and he dodged the bat, and my foam baseball came down and hit him right on his head, and that is my best tag I've ever gotten. This guy has been to probably, I would say, 18 battles, and it's fun. It's awesome. And with that, that was my war wall, guys. Everything I bring to battle, all that kind of stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.